Elevated thyroid antibodies mean that your thyroid is being attacked by your immune system. This is how Hashimoto's is actually diagnosed, and it is the clearest sign that inflammation is active right now. But the good news is that antibodies can calm down, and they could come down much faster than most people think once you know exactly what's driving them. And today, I'm going to walk you through the most effective research backed steps to lower thyroid antibodies so you can calm the immune system, reduce inflammation, and protect your thyroid from more destruction. Now, first thing is first, thyroid antibodies are the TPO or thyroid peroxidase and the TG or thyroglobulin antibody. So when you have Hashimoto's, you can have one or both that are elevated. It doesn't matter if one is higher than the other, if the TPO is higher than TG or TG is higher than TPO. As long as you have at least one of them elevated, that is how your medical doctor would have diagnosed you with Hashimoto's. Now, it's important to understand that Hashimoto's is an immune problem first, thyroid problem second, meaning that it's your immune system that got confused and started to attack the thyroid. So it's the immune system that we have to really look at and balance. And of course, we can use medication to support our thyroid if our thyroid has become destroyed and hypoactive, and medication supports thyroid hormone. But medication doesn't really do anything for the immune system that got confused and is attacking the thyroid, which is why it is so, so important that we support that. And antibodies tell us that there is immune inflammation. And so let's talk about the things that can actually move those antibodies. So the first is nutrients that directly help to lower antibodies. And this is really the fastest lever out of everything that we have. Now, there's a couple of different nutrients. The first is selenium. So selenium is needed for glutathione peroxidase, which is an antioxidant enzyme. And antioxidants help to protect the thyroid. Selenium has been studied to reduce TPO antibodies, many, many studies on that. And typically I use 200 micrograms daily, and there's many sources that say that this amount is a good amount to use. Now, with selenium, more is not better because you can have too much selenium. And if you take 4, 6, 800 micrograms over time, that can cause problems. So I don't recommend going over 200. More is not better, but it is important to have enough. And the next nutrient is myo-inositol. So myo-inositol improves TSH signaling and thyroid hormone sensitivity. It supports insulin and blood sugar balance, and that helps to lower immune activation. And there's a lot of research that shows that inositol, especially when it's paired with selenium, can significantly lower both TSH and thyroid antibodies. So I love how the two work together and help with both TSH and thyroid antibodies. The third nutrient is vitamin D. So vitamin D is an immune regulator, and that's very important because there's many nutrients out there that are immune nutrients, but they're what we call immune boosters, right? They upregulate the immune system. But in Hashimoto's, we don't want that. We don't want to upregulate the immune system. Instead, we want to balance the immune system, and that's exactly what vitamin D does. You can think of vitamin D as almost like if you have a seesaw, it's the middle part of the seesaw. If it's nice and wide, it keeps the seesaw from going up, and down. And vitamin D is very commonly low, especially in people with Hashimoto's, because we have more of an indoor life. We use a lot of sunscreen. It could be genetics, it could be the absorption in the gut. So it is really important that we have enough vitamin D. I like to aim for blood ranges of vitamin D between 50 and 80. And especially if you live in a northern hemisphere in the winter, hardly anyone is there unless you supplement. And typically, I recommend about 2,000 IUs of vitamin D, and in some cases, perhaps more, depending on how low you are. But it is very important to test so you're not guessing and you know where you are. And you want to make sure you retest to make sure that you're absorbing, because you could be taking vitamin D, but if your absorption is off, you may not be getting everything that you need. Now, the fourth is actually not something that you want to do more of like these other three, but it's the opposite. It's what you want to do less and ideally even avoid, and that is iodine, because excess iodine can increase hydrogen peroxide in the thyroid, and that can aggravate antibodies, especially when we don't have enough antioxidants and cofactors to protect the thyroid. And so, while iodine can be helpful for the thyroid, it can be very aggravating for us with Hashimoto's. And so, I use very, very, very small amounts of iodine. And in fact, I find most vitamins, even just general multivitamins, have way too much iodine for what someone with Hashimoto's and higher thyroid antibodies can handle. Now, some other nutrients that are very helpful for thyroid antibodies is CoQ10. CoQ10 is an antioxidant, so it also has a lot of immune balancing properties and it helps to protect the thyroid. The next is B vitamins, however, not any type of B vitamins. You may have heard that methylated B vitamins are better for us than synthetic, which is correct. However, what I see is that so many of us with Hashimoto's tend to be what I call over methylators, meaning that they have too many methyl donors already. And when they take very methylated and highly methylated B vitamins in high amounts, they can actually feel worse. So, for thyroid antibodies and overall Hashimoto support, I like to do B vitamins that are balanced in their methylation. What I mean by that is that you want some methylated ones, so methylfolate, methyl B12, but you don't want a really high amount of them. You also want some unmethylated, however, not synthetic. There's a big difference between unmethylated and synthetic. So, for example, for vitamin B12, unmethylated would be something like adenosylcobalamin or hydroxycobalamin versus synthetic B12 would be cyanocobalamin, which is what we want to avoid. So ideally, when you're doing a B complex, you want to make sure it has some methylfolate as well as folinic acid, different than folic acid. It's an unmethylated but natural form. And for B12, I like a combination of methylcobalamin as well as adenosylcobalamin. So we get that balanced methylation. So it's not super high in methylation or not super low in methylation. The next is magnesium. Magnesium is really, really important to help to calm our body. It's good for stress, it's good for cortisol. And cortisol is something that is a big trigger for Hashimoto's. And when we have high cortisol, our antibodies can also go up. Any stress reduction is going to be amazing for antibodies, but taking magnesium can be really helpful to calm the system and help with stress. Next, we have vitamin A, but specifically in the retinol form. It is very beneficial for the thyroid, but also for immune balance. And then there's vitamin E, a very powerful antioxidant to help to protect your thyroid. And lastly, we have zinc. Zinc plays a crucial role in thyroid hormone conversion. So our thyroid produces mostly T4. That T4 has to get converted to T3, and T3 is the active hormone. That's what goes to all of your cells to help you with weight loss and energy and hair and skin and metabolism and all of the things that the thyroid does for us. And zinc plays a crucial role there. Zinc is also extremely beneficial in helping to support the immune system without overactivating it. This is the key thing, that there's many nutrients out there that help with the immune system, but if they boost the immune system, that's not good for Hashimoto's. We want things that help to calm, balance, and support the immune system, and that is what all of these nutrients do. So to recap, we have selenium, inositol, vitamin D, CoQ10, proper Bs in their balanced methylated forms, magnesium, vitamin A, vitamin E, and zinc. Those are the things that we want to have more of and have more balance of. And then we have iodine that we want to lower and have minimal amounts of, because too much iodine is not good for Hashimoto's. And by the way, too much iodine can be as little as 150 micrograms, which is not that much. That's what so many vitamins have that are for the thyroid, but that is not good for Hashimoto's. Now, I know it's a lot of different things. And so, if you don't want to take all of those things and read through all of the labels, you can look at Thyrolove. What's neat about Thyrolove is that all of the nutrients that I spoke about today are all in there specifically to support the thyroid in the exact amounts that you need for both your thyroid and your immune system. And Thyrolove does not include a lot of iodine, so you're not getting this excess iodine that you definitely do not need with Hashimoto's. And you could see much more about it down below. And make sure that you watch the next video where we're going to get into the different triggers that can create immune confusion and how we can support those triggers to continue to lower our thyroid antibodies.